Okay, so I'm going to start with XRP and I'm going to zoom out first. We had a turn of the 5 week, the weekly, and then the 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 day, and again the weekly all turned last night. So what I'm doing is I'm zooming out to the weekly here, and I'm going to point out a couple of things to you. Is on this chart, take the fibs off for now. You can see this descending channel down here, and again generally you've got 1 touch, 2, 3, 4. Here we are on 5. Potentially we're coming for a 6. Yeah. Now when you look at it as a triangle, again this is a long-term support line here. You can see the amount of times that it bounces off this. Yeah, and it's got a lot of support here. So you can see this support line here, yeah. And then the question is this the bottom and this is going to hold, or is it going to break? Yeah. So we're going to zoom in and have a look at that. Yeah. Potentially we could be looking at this triangle here, where we could be coming down here. If this isn't the bottom, here is it looks like this bottom here could be. We find a lot of support here. Yeah. So now when we put the fibs back on. Okay, you can see I went from the top here, the top to the bottom here, yeah. And generally when you get an impulse like this, when you see the correction, when it's an impulsive correction, XRP has a tendency to come down and hit the golden pocket. If it was a shallow correction, it generally hits the 382 or the 0.5, bounces off that, and then continues on up. Is normally when it hits the golden pocket, you get a rebound back up to the 0.5, even the 382 sometimes. So this is on any timeline, it behaves like this, yeah. Is after that it comes back down and it wants to do a touch of the 702, quite often the 786, and a little bit of a wick through. So there is a possibility of another leg down, and normally there's 3 legs down. So this is one here, breaking the 382. Here's the second zone for the golden pocket, and potentially the third zone is breaking the golden pocket, breaking the 0.65, and coming down to the 786. That would give it the third level down, yeah. So, but we've got to see. So let's zoom in, and you can see the consolidation pattern that's gone on here. Is you get the drop down, you get a lift back up to reset a level here, then you get a lower low. Then you get a higher high, and again it comes back down. Excuse me. And again, oftentimes you can get a lower low, or not. It hasn't done a lower low at the moment. If there's a Wyckoff accumulation coming in here, is potentially, again, we're still looking for that lower low to come in. We'd be due a lower low, another lift, and then a third lower low, potentially. So we're watching for that. So now when we zoom in on the weekly, you can see that there's been 2 weeks of rejection at this resistance line, and there's quite a drop down yesterday, quite a push down, and the VWAP's coming down. And again, you can see price action is challenging the 20 EMA on the weekly. So that's a challenge that's gone on at the moment. When we zoom in to the daily, the same play as I've said. But now when we look at what's going on here, you can see the 200 SMA has been a solid resistance at the moment, yeah. And price action is back below the 20 EMA, and the 20 EMA is taking a dip. I did the same thing here, is it came down and bounced off the 55, back up to the 200 SMA. So you can see that the support and resistance is between 41.76, really 42, and 38.50. There's the 55, 38, 39 or so. Excuse me. So you can see that there's that playing out at the moment. Yeah. There's a good chance that price action may get down onto this support line one more time, and again that's around 35, 80, 36 mark. Yeah. Now there's not very much support. I know the 50s here on the MAs, but with regards to support and resistance lines, once price action breaks about 39.80, 39.60, there's a lot of free space where often you get moves like this. You get these moves going on when it drops below 39.60. So we may get a continued sideways dragging on like this here. At some point we may get a trip to 36, back up one more time, and then we get the decision when it comes back up. Whether it's going to break up or break down, that's a possibility. Yeah. So that's it on the daily. When I start to zoom in a little bit more, actually go to this one. So now when I zoom in, so remember on the daily we have this bigger channel. Where is it here? And I'll go to the weekly. There we go. We have this bigger channel here, yeah. So now when we zoom in on the 4 hour, we equally have a descending channel in this consolidation here. So we've got 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch, and again potentially 4 touches down, and that would give us our lower low here, yeah. And again within this consolidation pattern as well. When we zoom in a little closer, if we go in on the 1 hour, again we can see this ascending channel here, yeah. And again on the 1 hour we also have a consolidation pattern here. So look, you get the drop down, you get the lift back up to set the range. This time we get our lower low here. Now we get our higher high. Could it come up one more leg? It for sure could. We could get that lift up to 44, 46 range. That could happen. But even so, on the consolidation range here is, at the moment it looks like it's topping out. Potentially it's being held with resistance here, and potentially we start to break down out of this channel, yeah. So if we just have a look at this breaking out of this channel here, there's a target of 35.60 or so, and again that would give us that drop back down to the longer term support line, yeah. That on the weekly, yeah. So potentially that looks like it could play out. And we zoom in even a little closer, is you can see at the peak here, you can see there's a consolidation pattern going on here. And I was following this one. Look, you got the top, you get the drop. Here it comes back up and sets the level. Then it comes down for a lower low. Now this time it didn't come up and do a higher high. So you can see that the lift up is weakening here at the moment, where on this one you get the lift, you get the drop, comes up, sets a level, drops back down, doesn't do a lower low here, but does a higher high. Then there's a lower low, and then we get the lift back up. I took this off. I'll put back on so you can see. Where is it? This one here. Oh. I want this to be here. Let me click that off. There we go. There we go. So again, you can see the consolidation pattern here. Now, the point I'm trying to make is that when price action came back up to the high value line here, is it did a retrace to the point of control and then it pumped up. Where on this one, again from the lower low, it comes up, it tests that high value line, gets a rejection, tests it again, gets a rejection, and point of control is at the top here as resistance, and now we're back at the low value line here, and you can see there's testing at the breakthrough. So potentially this is offering a breakdown at the moment, yeah, with a general target of I'd say around the 36 range. Excuse me. So that's what I'm looking at for now. Now there's a lot of pros for that. There's also some cons. So now one of the other supports for it is this is the daily, yeah. Now this chart down here is the RSI. So you can see a lot of a bullish divergence here. And again, it gives a lift, yeah. And again, when the bearish kicks in, you get the drop. This was one of the previous times in the pattern. This is where we are. And you can see the bearish divergence, and look, it went down to the bottom here, yeah. Again, we get bullish, pumps back up. Here we are. Again, similar pattern here, where again it looks like we're on the way down. Is we get one final lift up, and look, it bottoms out again, yeah. So again, here is this bullish pattern. We get the pump. Is from here again. Now we're back in this bearish divergence, yeah. And you can see we get the drop. So we're getting this drop, and again we're also getting this sideways pattern here. But essentially it's telling me that on the daily the RSI wants to go back to the bottom again. So whether this is the bottom of the bear market and we're pumping up, or whether we've another leg down, is, to me, it looks like the RSI and the daily will want to go to the bottom here before it goes up. So it's just a matter of how far down price action can get so that the RSI bottoms out. So we may be getting lower lows, or we may not. It turns around, we get a pump, and that's a really good sign that the bear market's over. But we got to see what this wants to do, yeah. Now, part of the spill here is when you look at the RSI, this one here, yeah, you can come along and you can say, look, the RSI is bottoming out here. But now if you look at the previous spills, is what happens is that this part of the RSI on the daily, it's the reversal, and it's the same with here. Is if you look at here, there is also here. So look, you get the drop. The main part of the drop is the reversal. You get a little lift, and you get another spill, and that small little spill here is actually on price action is a much bigger movement. So that is still in play. That is still in play. The same happened here. There's the RSI dropped. You got a lift. The RSI dropped again. You got a lift, and then the big spill was the RSI coming from here down here. So the point I'm trying to make is this little turn down of the RSI could actually turn into a bigger spill, and at least take it down to 36 or so, for sure. What it wants to do after that, I don't know. You may want to come up and catch a breather here, Again, you can see the spill here came up one final time, dropped down. That this one pumped, this one dumped. Yeah, there's other ones back here. So won't go into them all, but you can see the general pattern. So it does look like we're going to have a drop, a lift, and then we're getting closer and closer to the decision making. Yeah, and at the same time, the MACD is properly spilling. Yeah, when this first crossed over, sometimes the MACD in the daily likes to cross over and then does it for a day or two, and then you get a sharp turn up. But this one now is proper in the spill there. Yeah, so they're all pros. They all support that, yeah. So now on the MAs, excuse me, on the MAs, the 5-week turn, and again, look at how sharp the 5MA turned down there. So the 5MA had an opportunity to keep going up and cross through the 10. The VWAP turn kept going up, but the 5MA could have gone up, and it didn't. It actually took a really sharp turn down. And price action was up. Look where price action was. The 5 was beneath it. The 5 could have easily followed through there, and it didn't. It took a sharp turn down. So now the monthly did the same. At the start of the month, the monthly did the same thing. Yeah, is the 5 and 10 took a turn down. So now the weekly turned as well. So let's have a look at the weekly, and the 5 is continuing up. But look, the 20s after taking a turn down, the VWAP is down. And then the 10 is continuing to go sideways. So the 10 is sort of playing a bit of a neutral role here, or else it's waiting to be support. So you can see it down here at 37.50. This is the medial line, the center line of the Bollingers. You can see that this is going to be a testing point if it comes down. Yeah, and we get that wick through, then a back test, think about on the weekly, if we get that wick through to 36 or so, we get a back test to the 20 EMA back up around 39.60, and then the question is, will this have turned into resistance, or can it break through and become support again? Yeah. So it seems to me like that's going to be the play of things. Yeah. Now the 6 day turned. The 6th day turn, and you can see the 5 on the 6th day is slowly starting to move over. The 50 is coming down strong, the VWAP, the 20, and again the 10 is playing neutral here at the moment. And equally the 20 EMA is support. So again, we need to see the 20 EMA tested again. But you can see what's happening at the moment. Yeah. So as we zoom in, we've got to look for where's the support and where's the reversal. The support is still solid, and the support is constant. It's gone sideways. 10 is coming up. Again, this is the 5 day, but again, you can see the 5 MA on the 5 day is, look, that's willing to turn. The 5 and the 5 day may already be resistance. It just depends on how this candle finishes by the end of the 5th day. So now this is the 4 day, and look, the 5 and the 4 days after taking a proper turn down. And if you just look back at any time the 5 and the 4 day takes a turn down, again, I pointed this out a bunch of weeks ago before, is when the 4 day turns, look what happens when the 4 day takes a turn. See, when the 4 day takes a turn, up or down, it's not an easy MA to turn. So when it turns, it generally is committed to the direction it's going in, yeah. And there's a bit of a wobble there, yeah. But you can see that the point I'm really trying to make is there's a solid attempt at a reversal here, yeah. So here's the 3 day. 3 day turn as well, and again the strong turn down on the continue down on the 5, and here's the 10. See the 10. Oh no, sorry, that's the 50. 50 floating up like this is quite possible because the early stocks are getting exhausted. So quite possible price action may come back up and look for resistance at 40.60 or so. Yeah. Well, at the moment you can see VWAP is down on the 3 day and the 5 is down. So the VWAPs have turned. I'm finding the VWAPs very untrustworthy on the dailies of late because all the MAs on the dailies are compact. The VWAP on the dailies are normally very solid. You see the VWAP turn on a day or a 2 day, and you can sort of take it to the bank that it's going to stay like that. But lately, that's not true because there's so many of the days and the weeks compounding on each other that the VWAP on the dailies are getting flipped a lot. So you're looking at the VWAP, the yellow line here on the 3 day coming down. And another time I'd say that's going to hold, but these days I go, oh God, that could get flipped. So it's just like that at the moment, yeah. So the ones that tend not to get flipped so much are the MAs. The 5s are getting flipped a little bit, but generally they don't. Once they get a position, that they generally hold it, yeah. So on the 2 day, you can see that again the 5 is coming down, and again look, the 10 is floating up like this, which leads me to believe that again 40.54 price action may find itself back up here, and the 10 becomes a resistance point at some point. So it looks like 40.60 is going to be a test point pretty soon, today or tomorrow it looks like, yeah. And then on the daily, again look, there's the 5 and 10. Now the 5 and 10, this is more of a spill. When you look at this is looking far more like a spill. It did it here. The VWAP really led here. It's sort of the 5 followed, the 10 didn't. The VWAP led and the 5 followed. It didn't get very far. On this one again, look at the VWAP. Look how much the VWAP moved yesterday. So compared to this spill here, you can see the VWAP is more committed on this one. So the VWAP is solidly down. And this time the 5 and 10 are following and they're breaking through the 20. So the spill on this one on the daily is a stronger There's a stronger spill to it, yeah, and there's more support for it. So remember I was saying to you about the stock on the daily is that small little turn down could end up being a bigger spill, yeah. And again, the support down here is the 50 at 37.60. But again, I think it'll be a wick through, and then the body, whatever the wick is, the body of the candle may end up finishing at the 50 or so, and then potentially we come back up for one final test, because that's what it's been doing, yeah. So that's the daily. Let's have a look. It's 70 minutes to the 12-hour turning, but let's have a look what the 18-hour did on the turn of the day. Again, there's the 5. You'll notice on the hourlies, the 5 MAs are all in action. They're all moving. They're all coming down to chasing price action, yeah. But you can see that the 10 and the 20s are also very close to it here as well. So the 18 is in position to give a bit of a stronger push. The same with the 12. You can see the next 70 minutes, the 5 here is going to come down much stronger, yeah. And again, they look willing to spill. And there's the 4-hour. There's the 4-hour. There's the 5. Potentially getting a little tired here. Maybe let's have a look at the 6-hour. There's the okay. So there's the 5 coming down on the 6-hour. I was going to jump a little bit, but you can see what I mean with the 5s following through. Yeah. What we need to see is the 10 following through on the 4-hour for continuation down, and you can see the 10 is coming down. The 10 is coming down for that. When you zoom into the 3-hour, here's the 10 getting closer. On the 2-hour, the 10 is probably already there. There's the 10 there. And again, on the 1-hour, again, you can see the 20s are getting involved with the push. Yeah, so they're all looking very strong for a push down. Yeah. Now here's the daily stock on RSI. So here's the top left is the RSI on the daily. So again, you can see that the daily, there could be 2 or 3 days of a push down here. Yeah, the 2-day has come back in from the overbought. 3 days coming back down. 4 days turn. 5 days turn. 6 days topping out here. The weekly is topping out. Again, here's the 2-week here is sort of floating a little bit. It's up slightly, but it's floating a little bit. Yeah, the RSI and the daily, I think, is the one to really watch. Top left. I think this wants to get to the bottom. Yeah. So I'm watching that one. Yeah. When I go into the hourlies, top left is the 5-minute. Back at the top, short term 15 is bottomed out. Half hour is in the middle on the way down. The hour has come back to the top again. 2-hour bottom left has got a breather, and again maybe wants to do a little bit of a push, but you can see it's bottomed out and it's been there for a while. 3 hours bottomed out. 4 hours bottomed out. So all these guys, they may continue to get pressure coming down, because look, there's the 6-hour bottoming out. Here's the 8-hour coming in, the 9-hour. So you can see about, remember saying about the 5 MAs and the 5 MAs on the different hours, they're all coming down fast. It's just a question of, can the daily keep the pressure on? And it has the support of the other days in the week, the VWAP. Can it keep the pressure on, and that all the hourlies get their 5 MAs and potentially their 10 MAs down and just keep pushing through, yeah? And the shorter time frames get these quick resets. So that's the question, yeah? So you can see, look, the 10 is pushing down, but they're all very, very close to. Here's the bottom right is the 12-hour. You can see the stock on the 12-hour is committed as well, yeah? And again, the RSI on the 12-hour is very close to the bottom. So you can see that 10-hour hasn't bottomed out, the 12-hour and the RSI hasn't bottomed out. And it looks like it's time for the RSI to bottom out. It looks like it. There's the 18-hour and it hasn't bottomed out. So it looks like that's in play. Anything else I can show you? I suppose just this one here, and then I'm done, yeah. This is the EMAs, and you can see the 4 hours crossed over. The 4 hour crossed over here, and again here's the 4 hour crossing over again. Is we just got to see if there's more to it this time. Yeah. There's the 1 hour crossing over. So now you can see the 1 hour was a trigger here. We got the drop, potentially a back test to the 55, and the 55 at the moment is at 40.42. So remember I was saying to you, there could be a back test to 40.50, 40.60. So potentially a back test to the 55 on the hourly, around that 40.50 mark. And again, potentially if it gets a rejection, and then we get another leg down. Yeah. So I think that could be on the cards, unless because this is a consolidation. Yeah, this is a consolidation playing out as well. I'll show you here. If we put it to, there's the spill, put it to there. Okay, so we get the drop down, comes back up, sets a range. We get the lower low. We get the lift here now. We didn't get the higher high. So again, this here, we get a lower low again. So the question is are we going to head for a continued spill down, or are we going to get that lift up and potentially attack for a higher high before we start to get the spill back down again? So I don't know. I don't know. We got to watch that. Yeah, it does look like it could potentially keep going now. Yeah. But we got to see. But that if it does turn up and starts to get a bit of a lift, I'd be looking at that 40.50, 40.60 as a potential target for a short. Yeah. And then I suppose this is the last thing I'm going to talk about. I pointed out this to you as well before. Yeah, this is a fantastic chart. This is a fantastic. You can take this to the bank. This is the 1 hour RSI. You see when the hour 1SI starts getting up above 90 here. Like it generally doesn't get above 90 very often. When it does, is you're looking at a minimum of a 20% drop that's coming, 20 to 40% drop that's coming. So, but there's a pattern too. Is that when you get the peak, is you get the spill, is then it comes up and you get a bullish divergence on here, and then it comes up and you get a bearish divergence again. Yeah, you get a bearish divergence here, and then you get a spill off. You get this run off. You know, you get a final lift up. You get the final lift up, and look, then you get the big spill. Yeah, is this here? Here's the same. This is the final lift up. It did a double top here. You got a, I think it was a 20% spill here. Sorry, 16% spill here. Then we get this final lift up here, and then we get a big drop down. And I think this one was, what was it? Here it was, that was 18. So this was 16, and then this was 18, yeah. So, so here we are again in our sideways pattern here. So it's just a question of what's it going to do. This is why I'm thinking potentially we hit our 36 range. Possibly we come back up and hit our 42, you know, and if we're going for that next level down, is then we get the spill. So you'll see on this bottom line here is quite often the 1 hour can get down to the yellow line, but it doesn't get down to the orange line very often. So again, if you see that this starts to take a spill down, if you see it hitting the orange line, it's time to go long. Is if you see it coming up here and start hitting this red line, obviously it's time to go short. Yeah. So I think they're indicators about whether we're going to have our breakup or our breakdown. Yeah. So equally, one last thought here is you can see the play of things when it bounces along. If there's the 50, I think they're the EMAs. Okay. Yeah. The green is the 50 EMA, and the red here, the light red is the 200 EMA. Yeah. So you can see it does a bounce along here, there's a push down, there's a lift up, and then it does a dump. Yeah. So you can see here now the 50 has been more volatile, breaking through, lifting, breaking through again. So we got to see how many times is it going to do this before we get the proper spill, yeah, or pump. So you can see what I'm watching for, yeah. At the moment, I've got to take profit at 36.50. I keep flipping between 37.20 and 36.50. I do see it could go deeper than that, but I think 36.50 is a reasonable target. Is a reasonable target that's likely to be hit, you know. So that's me for now, and let's see how price action wants to play out. Yeah. One of the things I'm looking for is, are we going to get another push down now before these stocks on the hourlies get exhausted and want to lift back up? I think we're going to get our answer to that today. I reckon. But we'll see. Okay, so that's me.